Salem. Welcome to Live from the Loft this morning. As it is the first Sunday in May, we are going to have communion this Sunday. So if you didn't get your bread and wine together, you may want to run and do that, although I'd hate for you to miss a song, but I'd really hate for you to miss my sermon. So you can get it now if you'd like. It's a gorgeous day out today. God is with us through this thing, and He gives us these little reminders like today when the sun is shining and it's just a beautiful day. So let's start this worship this morning, shall we, with a beautiful song called God is Love. The reading this morning is from Gospel of John, the 10th chapter. I tell you for certain that only thieves and robbers climb over the fence instead of going in through the gate to the sheep pen. But the gatekeeper opens the gate for the shepherd, and he goes in through it. The sheep know their shepherd's voice. He calls each of them by name and leads them out. When he has led out all of his sheep, he walks in front of them, and they follow, because they know his voice. The sheep will not follow strangers. They don't recognize a stranger's voice, and they run away. Jesus told the people this story, but they did not understand what he was talking about. Jesus said, I tell you for certain that I am the gate for the sheep. Everyone came before me was a thief or a robber, and the sheep did not listen to any of them. I am the gate. All who come in through me will be saved. Through me they will come and go and find pasture. A thief comes only to rob and kill and destroy. I came so that everyone should have life and have it to the fullest. I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd gives up his life for his sheep. So a young 16-year-old boy just got his license, and it was in the middle of winter, and sure enough, about the first week he's driving, there's a terrible snowstorm, and the visibility is zero, and he's panicking. He doesn't know what to do, and then he remembered something his father told him. His father said, "Son, anytime you're caught in a horrible snowstorm, wait for a snowplow, and then just follow it." And so he waited, and pretty soon a snowplow came by. He got behind it, and for the next half hour he followed it. Finally the snowplow pulled over, and the driver came back, and he rolled his window down. He said, "Son, how come you keep following me?" And the young boy said, "Well, because my father told me, if there's a bad snowstorm, follow the plow." The driver said, "Well, that's great, but I'm finishing plowing the Walmart lot now, so if you want, you can follow me over to the Best Buy and we'll plow that lot." Sometimes we have to know who to follow. That's what this scripture is all about. Jesus talks about following only the Good Shepherd. The scripture tells us that it is only through following the Good Shepherd that we will know deep peace. It is only when we follow the way of Jesus that we are led into the deepest peace of all. They found many worship structures and places from the first 400 years of Christianity. And some of them are in catacombs, some of them are just archaeological digs that they found. And here's something interesting. In all the artwork depicted, and there's a lot, in these places of worship from the first 400 years, there is not one depiction of a cross. There is not one depiction of Jesus being crucified, nor is there even a depiction of the resurrected Jesus. But do you know what image by far and away represents Jesus the most in those first 400 years? You guessed it. Jesus is the Good Shepherd. In almost all of these early structures are images of a young Jesus leading the sheep, carrying the lamb. And so when I think about that, I realize how different the emphasis was in those first 400 years. There was just a completely different emphasis about who Jesus was and what Jesus was about. When we read this passage today, from our years of emphasis, the first thing we think about is, okay, who's the ones in the pen? Am I in the pen? Who's in the pen? Who's out of the pen? Which sheep are in there? And then Jesus is the one that comes to the pen, leads us through the gate, through this life, straight into the next life. Jesus is, in the way that we were taught, was always about getting us into that next life. It was always about getting there. That was the purpose of Jesus. That was the emphasis when I was growing up and when I was taught this. Jesus' primary function was always, how do you get into that next life? And yet, today, in this scripture, what does he say? He says, "I have come so that all might have life, and live life to the fullest." That's not talking about getting people into another life. That's talking about people living their fullest life in this life.